One of the co-sponsors of this bill, Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator Blackburn, Republican from Tennessee, great to see you today.
It's so good to see you, Anna. Thank you so much.
So we're definitely going to hit on everything going on in the Middle East with President Trump's big tour that he's got going on right now. But first, let's hit on this. And you want to talk about this. Senator, any parent knows how addicting and dangerous these devices can be for our kids and for us even. What would your bill require tech companies to do?
Yes, it puts the burden on tech companies to establish a duty of care and to make certain that kids and parents have a toolbox so they can break away from these algorithms. They can change these settings, and it requires these social media platforms to do safety by design, which is very important. And you know, what they've done for all this time is use our kids as a product and a profit center. And what we're saying is our children are valuable. We do not want them to be exposed to drugs and alcohol and pornography 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is a way to stop this, Anna, and it is putting the burden on social media companies. And that is what the Kids Online Safety Act does. As you said, it would be the first, it would be landmark legislation that would be there to help our children de-link from all of this endless scrolling, and they're exposed to cyberbullying, eating disorders, drug dealers, traffickers in the virtual space. In the real world, there are laws against that, but we have not had any laws and protections in the virtual space. The Kids Online Safety Act would put that in place.
All right, well, let's switch gears and talk about Trump unveiling major economic agreements there in the Middle East. I mean, this feels like something that is definitely going to be written about in the history books. As Axios wrote today, I think we've got some video that we can show. He has just landed in Abu Dhabi and he's being greeted there. If we can go ahead and pull up some of that video. But as Axios writes, you know, look, this is all happening in just the last week. He's moving incredibly swiftly. He met with a leader that the U.S. officially considers a terrorist. He's announced he'll lift all sanctions on Syria and cut a truce with the Houthis, plus a hostage deal with Hamas, both of which excluded Israel. So what do you make of everything that has been coming out just at warp speed in the last couple of days? And what are you expecting to hear from him today?
And we're going to see him continue to get results today. That is what he's doing on behalf of the American people. He said he wanted to end endless wars. He wanted to stabilize the Mideast. He wants support for our greatest ally in the region, Israel. And he is working toward that. Of course, in his first term, he did this with the Abraham Accords. And now, as he is going into Saudi Arabia, Anna, what you've seen is not just a diplomatic mission, you're also seeing an economic mission. And he's going to be bringing back hundreds of billions of dollars of direct foreign investment into the United States. This is good for our economy. It is good for the American people. And of course, this is good for peace in the region. And I look forward to what he's doing. I found it so interesting. President Trump is very good at leading people. He builds that vision. And then he says, this is how we're going to get it done. He gets those results. And as we are all seeing in real time, getting the results is building respect for the United States across the globe. And country after country is coming to the table when it comes to negotiating trade and tariffs. And they are coming to the table to say, we want to be your ally and your friend. And I think this is a good reset for the U.S.
Yeah, it says a lot about the relationships and the fact that he chose to go to the Middle East there for his first extended foreign trip and not to Europe, for example. And also him skipping Israel. It's not on the docket, which really stuck out quite a bit to me. He's focusing, yes, on diplomacy, but largely on these economic deals Senator Blackburn. And his goal, when he set out, he said, in these 4.5 days, I'm going to try to raise $1 trillion for economic, growth to the United States economy. And many were going, there is no way he's going to be able to do that. And look, he does speak in hyperbole from time to time. But in the last 24 hours or so, he's expecting to potentially have $3 trillion potentially. And let's focus in on this Boeing deal. More than 150 aircraft that Qatar is saying they would like to buy from America's Boeing. How big of an economic shot in the arm is that for the U.S. economy?
Well, think about what that would do for manufacturing and for the suppliers for these Boeing jets. And what we need to do is make certain that Boeing gets back to being an engineering company that can actually make planes. And we know that the supply chain that is involved with that is going to be vitally important. We had a hearing yesterday on how we fortify our supply chains. The more domestic manufacturing we are doing, that increases our exports. The more domestic manufacturing we are doing increases job opportunities. It also will raise salaries and wages for workers. That is a very good thing. And as we bring advanced manufacturing, the utilization of quantum computing, the utilization of AI technologies, think of the innovation that is going to bring into the advanced manufacturing sector. I look at this as being a plus and a positive. I am grateful that President Trump set out saying, we're going to hit $1 trillion, and he hits that number. He says we're keeping on going, and this is good for the American economy, the American worker. And think about what increased wages will do.
Senator Blackburn, without a doubt, the world is watching. It's not just Americans watching NewsNation right now. They are watching this. And Iran is also watching. What do you think leadership there is thinking? They've sort of drawn this red line. They've said that perhaps they would stop enriching as much uranium. But the United States has been pressuring them to stop the program altogether. Do you think these relationships that are being built here is really pushing and pressuring Iran to come to the table and make a new nuclear deal?
Oh, absolutely, it is pushing Iran. Look at what happened with China. Once the UK deal was announced, who wanted to get their deal out there? It was China. They need access to our marketplace. When you look at Iran and you think about what do they have as an export, it is oil and gas. Mm-hmm. When President Trump says we're putting these sanctions back on, if you're buying oil and gas from Iran, you're not going to do business with us. Now, Iran remembers what it was like to be totally broke. That is where they were during President Trump's first term, because they could not sell their oil and gas. They couldn't have access to the SWIFT system. So yeah, they know what it's like, and they don't want that. So giving up these stockpiles will be an imperative. Giving up the enrichment will be an imperative. President Trump has been very clear. You don't need nuclear energy, so therefore you do not need to be enriching uranium. Total dismantlement.
Yes.
That is what he is expecting.
Right, because we don't want a nuclear Iran. So absolutely. Senator Marsha Blackburn, thank you so much for joining us today and hitting on so many topics. We are going to take,